Ross Bolen Podcast.
You better listen.
Welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast, otherwise known as RBP, presented by Bolen Media. I am your host, Ross Bolen, back again with your co-host, Chris Coulson. Christopher, today's episode is our last of 2020.
Wow.
The worst calendar year in my 33 years on this earth, bar none. A 365-day period we deemed the year of the comeback, and today we're going to hear from our listeners, the RBP gang, via hotline calls to let us know how the year went for them. And then today, to close our show, Chris and I will be doing a personal year of the comeback recap, sharing how this year went for us as well. Are you excited, Coles?
Can't wait. I'm stoked. Thrilled.
The idea obviously being that all of our listeners, you, our current listenership, can share this episode with friends and family as a means of letting them know what the Ross Bolen Podcast is all about: mental health, laughs, and life. First, though, speaking of which, I have a story. It was raining on my way to the office today, Chris. First time driving in the rain in the new Model 3.
Let me just say, first time really driving in the rain in Austin since living here. Yeah, you weren't kidding when you said Austin drivers suck in the rain.
Yeah, everybody goes about 20 miles an hour lower than the speed limit.
Yep.
It is hellacious to try to get anywhere.
For some reason, they all drive like bumper to like they just kind of move as a herd.
Yeah, a very slow-moving herd of
so
cattle.
You can't change lanes or
No.
get where you need to go or merge or move or
the
do
city,
anything you need to do in any capacity.
Generally does not handle rain well.
No.
Never has. It's a thing. Everybody that lives here for an extended period of time knows that Austin, Texas does not handle the rain well. I don't know why. Everyone in Houston, Texas, just a couple and a half hours away, drives even faster in the rain, like that's their natural environment that they prefer, whereas in Austin, everybody goes much slower. But the point is this: I'm on the way, it's pouring. First of all, the Tesla took away my ability to use the full self-driving. It said, bad weather detected, you're on your own. And I was like, ah! So
wow.
I had to drive the car, which was a thing that most people have to do with their cars that I am trying to actively avoid on a day-to-day basis. That was one thing. I get off of 71, our little highway or whatever. I get too close to the studio, and I pull up to a stoplight.
Okay.
Red light.
Yeah.
7 or 8 cars, sitting at the light with me.
Sure.
And I notice this gentleman to my right on the sidewalk.
Okay.
It is fucking dumping rain at this point. He's a homeless gentleman.
Yes.
Can't be older than 35. You know how the homeless in Austin typically dress. They don't look much different than your casual hipster going shopping or whatever on South Congress pre-pandemic.
Trench coat.
Dude is standing there, and he's got this big smile on his face. And I don't know if it's the rain, the end of the year, or just a general lack of sanity that had this gentleman smiling.
Maybe all three.
But he looked very happy.
Okay.
And then I look down, and I see that he has decided to insert his hand into his pants and release his penis. He pulls out his junk. Now, this is a thing. People, especially in like San Francisco, New York City, you see a homeless dong here and there, right? The homeless have a propensity to pull out their junk.
Okay.
Because at that point, when you've reached the street level of society, where no longer are any of the bars that hold the rest of us holding you, you got to just hang dong. Publicly, I guess. This dude was hysterical. I don't know what he got out of this. It wasn't a pretty penis. It was haunting, frankly.
That's probably what he got out of it, honestly.
The look on his face said, yeah, I've had to look at this my whole life. Now you have to look at it too.
Hey, I've talked about this before. One of my philosophy for life is, if you can change the world in your own little way, that's all you can really do. This man, he changed the world in his own little way. He impacted you and potentially ruined your day or made it better. I mean, this might be like a marinate kind of thing.
Got to marinate a little
through the day. You start thinking about the dong a little bit more.
Got some perspective on it by the end of the evening.
Take a little smoky smoke, and then who knows what that dong's looking like by the end of the day.
Powerful dong, that homeless dong. First homeless dick I've seen this year, and it's only fitting to close out 2020 with a homeless flashing. So I had to share that story. Let's jump into announcements and shouts before we get to our calls. Shouts to everyone who is listening, for supporting us all year long, for being here, for making sure RBP and Bolen Media could not only survive this year, but thrive. Thank y'all so much. If you want to watch episodes of our show, we have full video of every single Monday and Wednesday episode that is released on youtube.com/Bolen Media. So you can go watch our show on YouTube. We wave to the cameras. Hello. Hi, everyone. youtube.com/Bolen Media. If you'd like a third ad-free premium exclusive episode of this podcast each and every Friday, patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast is the place to get it. Minimum of just a $5 pledge monthly will get you an additional ad-free episode of RBP every single Friday, every single week, barring holidays and shit. Sometimes they come out in the middle of the week or whatever. Patreon, patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Coles, it is time. First segment. Hotline calls from listeners. Grab your headset.
We're back.
We're going to dig into 888-WR Bolen for the first time in quite a while,
It's
actually.
been a while. I think maybe first time in the new studio.
That we've done like a very hotline call heavy episode, perhaps. But we
Perhaps.
prompted our listeners last week and the week before, if I'm not mistaken, to call in to our public hotline, 888-WR Bolen, and tell us how things went for them this year, how the year of the comeback transpired, how this podcast influenced their 2020, and just to generally give us a recap of the year of the comeback for our individual listeners, call by call.
All right.
888-WR Bolen. I pulled about 8 or 9 calls
All right.
from our hotline to play for y'all today to give you an idea of how things went during the year of the comeback. And again, to show our listeners and those who do not listen, perhaps new listeners, potential listeners, exactly how this podcast works. Chris, if you're ready, I'll play our first call.
Let's do it.
Yo, Ross, Chris. So, I just listened to the Monday up of RBP. I'm out delivering pizzas right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, just thought I'd, talk about the whole year, the comeback thing, year in review. So, to start off 2020, this was like right whenever I kind of found the podcast. So, at the beginning of the year, I had just gotten cheated on by my girlfriend of about 6 months, which, I mean, it's not a long time, but it fucking sucked. So, yeah, that was cool. And then I started working out, started lifting, year of the comeback, started really listening to the pod a lot, started like every day. Ended up losing over the course of 2020, I believe, 60 pounds. So that's awesome. And the pod really helped me through the whole breakup time I was going through. I feel a whole lot better now. The pod has helped me immensely. You guys are awesome. I love you all. Thank you so much for pushing me and motivating me to better myself, physically and mentally. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. Thank you. Pizza Boy. I'm going to call him Pizza Boy.
Salute to our essential workers out there, like our pizza men, just delivering pizzas, making sure everybody's staying fed and healthy and happy.
People are not giving pizza delivery guys, food delivery, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates, etc. enough credit for getting us through this year.
I imagine it's like a war zone out there. I mean, you never know what you're going to expect. You're approaching this house. You don't know what's coming out of it. There could be the plague. There could be a man with a shotgun.
Where do you put the pizza? Is it on the gate? Do you put it by the door? Do you ring the doorbell? There was a lot of confusion about these non-contact deliveries. Things were hectic.
What happens if there's like 2 little yappy dogs inside that thinks they like feel like they're going to bite your head off? They might attack you at any second,
At the
or
very
at least
least one
ankles.
of your toes. Yeah, your toes or your ankles. They're coming for you.
This kind of sounds like your story, just like voice change it real quick and call in yourself. But I mean,
yeah, one of
minus
the things
listen
you're going to notice about this segment we are doing is that, again, when I say you are not alone, there are many reasons behind that.
Yeah.
One of them is that we're all going through the exact same shit. All right, what you're going to hear in these calls, what you heard from our boy here, going through a breakup at the beginning of the year, his girlfriend cheated on him. He started lifting and working out. Year of the comeback, get that revenge bod going. You know how it is.
Revenge bod's huge.
Started each day with a pod, lost 60 pounds, turned the year around, made it a productive one for him that he can look back on and know that was a year where I progressed, moved forward, grew, got better, right? He won't look back in 20 years and say, oh, my girlfriend dumped me at the beginning of the year. He'll look back in 20 years and say, I dropped 60 pounds and pulled my shit together during an international pandemic.
Well, in all honesty, you probably lost like 200 pounds. The 60 plus like the 140 that his ex probably weighed.
Ha ha ha. Putting her at a 140, huh?
I don't know.
I don't know how much women weigh.
I don't either.
Or men, frankly,
Actually,
anymore.
Is 140 like really heavy for a girl?
You know how there's like the dude at the circus who can look at people and can look
Yeah,
at
I feel like
people
that's,
and
like,
not
an
necessarily,
average.
depends on your height.
Oh, okay.
But can look at people and guess their weight.
Yeah.
I'm like the opposite.
Yeah.
Like I will be so far away. There is no way I'm guessing anyone, male, female, ambidextrous, right-handed, left-handed. I'm not guessing your weight.
See,
Sorry.
I know me, like I know my weight, but like
Yeah.
if I looked at you, like I know your weight because I've seen you hop on the scale before when we
Sure.
worked out and stuff like that. But if I didn't, I would not be anywhere near your weight. You come across.
I'm a hard
especially-
one. I'm a
yeah,
tough one.
Well,
for
especially
sure.
because you have the length,
And
then
if I'm wearing
also-
pants, you don't know what's going on with the legs.
Exactly,
You don't know how
exact-
little leg there
and,
is
like,
down there.
Deceiving biceps. I'll be honest. Well, not
Huge,
deceiving. You
huge
have
arms,
like
just guns.
massive cannons. So like it's very difficult. It's very difficult. I mean, if as a profession, you could be like just going around fooling the guys at the circus and taking all of their money.
Yeah, they've got no shot with me.
Yeah, you're
Those
like,
dudes have absolutely no
if you
chance.
need a fallback at any point in time or something like that, if the internet ever goes down permanently.
2021 may be the year of guys guessing people's weight at the circus. That's on the list, the short list of things I'm considering.
That's
Weight guessers
above,
at circuses.
above year the boot.
It is
still.
above the year of the boot, to
Yeah.
be sure.
Sorry about
Thank you for the call, Pizza Boy. We appreciate you. We're going to move on to hotline call number 2 here. Christopher, if you want to slap the headphones back
Seriously,
on.
shouts to you, man, though. Good for you. I would say arguably, like, everybody's going to look back at this year, and if you had that personal growth, like, what's better than a year of personal growth? I can't, seriously.
That's the goal every year, baby.
Yeah.
Get a little bit better, move the ball down the field just a little bit. You know? That's all you can ask for.
Get closer to the goal line.
That's all you can ask for. Next call.
Touchdown.
Hi, Ross. You don't have to play this on the show. This is just me calling to have a little mental health minute.
Oh, we're playing it.
I'm just really struggling because, I mean, this year has sucked, and I'm already a pretty anxious and depressed person, like, in a normal year, and so this year has just been extra hard. And my girlfriend has really been struggling mentally, too, even worse than me, and I feel like I can't tell her what's going on with me because she can't handle it, and it's just building up as resentment in my head, and I'm trying to communicate with her, and I just feel so bad putting shit on her. And I don't want to put shit on any of my loved ones right now because it's the holidays, and it's already a hard enough time for everyone as it is. So I'm calling the hotline because I couldn't think of anyone else to go to. So I appreciate you opening up your hotline for people like me to do stuff like this. Thanks for everything you do, man. You help a lot of us more than you could possibly know. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Merry fucking Christmas. And thank you for calling. We're going to beep out her name for privacy, but our female caller here, ma'am, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate you sharing. Exactly, again, what I was saying after our first call. Like, I can hear myself when she's talking. I went through all these same feelings this year. Exact same feelings. This was a crushing calendar for those of us with mental health issues. It's the main reason Coles and I decided to shift the main focus of this show, this podcast, from comedy to mental health. Our category, our first category, when this podcast is categorized on Apple Podcasts or whatever, is mental health and wellness.
Is. Yeah.
And the reason for that is that it's something that's been a massive focus in my life since I turned 21, so over 12 years now. It's something that I've noticed become more and more important in our world as the social media era really gets full speed ahead, and the way that impacts all of us, and the 24-hour news cycle, the election, the pandemic. Look, modern life is more complicated than it's ever been.
Ever.
It's incredibly difficult to manage. And this year was the most crushing in terms of anxiety and depression and addiction I have ever seen. Now, granted, I'm 33. All right, I didn't live through World War II or the Depression or Vietnam or any of that shit. I can only go by my timeline here. This was challenging.
But I would say existentially this year has been harder than anything else because we have all the information in the entire world at our fingertips.
I agree with you, Chris.
You know what I mean?
It's not just that things are crazier. It's that we have access to the things that are crazier. All of it. I turned on the BBC this morning, as I often do, at first thing in the morning, Chris. I made it 5 minutes in, and I was
a
like,
cultured man that's just,
of course,
trying to take in the knowledge of the world.
I was like, I'm out. This is silly. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Honestly, especially because I'm in a more positive place now. I feel like we're moving past a lot of these things. We've got the vaccines rolling out. We're past the election. Like, the stuff that was really dark is finally passing, right? Or getting there. We're close. It was still headline after headline after headline of the worst possible shit you could start your day with. And I was just like,
Everything-
fuck this, man. I'm out. No, click.
Yeah, it's so divisive right now, the world that we live in. And, I mean, up until, like, really Vietnam, everything that you got from the media was, I mean, pretty much one-sided. You know, pro-America were doing the right thing.
But
and-
everybody
and-
consumed media in a very different way, too. It wasn't like,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
and
you got your
it
morning newspaper and
yeah.
you caught up on the shit from the day before or
Or
last week or
evening
the Sunday
news,
paper for the
even.
prior week or whatever. Yeah, it was not this.
No, not even close.
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, constant notifications from every app on your phone of every headline. Like, it was crushing for all of us with mental health issues. And again, that's why we opened up the hotline at one point. Exactly what our female caller used it for here. 888-WR-BOLEN. If you need somewhere to talk, if you need somewhere to just unload, and you can do what she did. She said you don't have to play this on the show. If you don't want it on the show, say, I don't want this played on the show, and we will not play it on the show. This was just a perfect example of something that resonated so much with me that I know resonates with so many thousands and millions and millions and millions of people. I had to play it. One of the things she shared, she didn't want to put things on friends and family.
That's something that I relate to a lot. I wanted to bring that up because, as somebody that struggles with mental health, obviously I know what it's like to be in that place, and you don't want to continue to burden anybody else worse than like they're already going through it. But at the same time, when you have somebody that with that intimacy in your life, like a significant other or even a best friend or something like that, you do need that support there. So that's a very tricky situation. I personally, I don't think I have enough experience in relationships like that to give very sound advice, but I've felt that on countless occasions.
I'll give you what was given to me.
Sure.
From my girlfriend this year. I would routinely share with her, like, I'd have a really tough day, and morning depression wise, afternoon anxiety wise, and then I would tell her at the end of the day, like, yo, today it sucked. You know, I ended up crying on my kitchen floor. I had to take my medication because I had a panic attack or whatever. And she would say, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you share it with me? Why didn't you text me? Why didn't you call me?
Yeah.
And I say, I don't want to be a burden to you. I know your day is tough and you're going through shit too. And she said, if I called you and shared those things with you, would you have felt burdened by me? I said, no, obviously not. Absolutely not. I beg you to call me if you ever have anything going on and you need me. And it clicked. That is an internal self-talk issue, the feeling of burdening other people.
Yeah.
If anybody in your life makes you feel like a burden and it's not you that's twisting it up in your head, you've got a clear thought process and you've looked through it and analyzed it, and it's them that's making you feel like a burden, yo, cut that motherfucker off. Nobody should make you feel like a burden. It's probably you. If it's not, cut off, but talk to your people. Do not be afraid to reach out to your friends and family, those closest to you that you trust, and share with them what you are going through. That is how this life works. That is how we all walk together. That's how we get to the finish line successfully, happily, and with as little strife and struggle and suffering as possible, by sharing together. If you've got nobody, you've got the hotline and you've got Chris and I. That's the show. That's the Ross Bolen Podcast. At the end of the day, that's it. We all want to get through this. We want to be as happy and healthy as we can. And it's a lot easier together than it is alone. I spent a lot of this year on my hands and knees crying. A lot of time staring at the floor, staring up and yelling at the sky. It was a tough one. Really, really tough, especially the first several months. But we all are getting through it together, right? If you're still feeling it, if you're still getting crushed, reach out to your people. You are not a burden. You are not alone. And your friends and family are there to help you through this shit. That's how we roll. Understood? Everybody good?
In the words of Troy Bolton, we're all in this together.
Who's Troy Bolton?
The main character in High School Musical.
Fair enough. There
Zac
you go.
Efron.
We got a Troy Bolton quote in today. Nobody expected
we're
that
all
shit.
in this together.
I feel bad for your generation that was burdened by High School Musical. That's a burden, Chris.
Everybody just sang along with me. I guarantee it. We should watch that movie as
I'll watch
an
it with you.
Amazon watch party. It's a great movie.
I'll watch it with you.
Probably actually is not that great in like hindsight, but from what I remember, I had a High School Musical watch party when I was like 4 and it came out. I remember it vividly. Next call.
You were 4 years old, just looking forward to high school and chasing titties already, huh?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And singing. Lots of singing.
My high school was constantly breaking into song and dance. It's just that the song and dance was like Southside by Lil Kiki.
That would have been a way better High School Musical.
It was.
Where's that one?
That's a very IA Dibs copyright trademark on the hip hop version of High School Musical that doesn't suck.
How is that not a thing yet?
Don't
like
know.
you would think
It's got to
Disney,
be. They probably just blew it.
the cash cow of Disney would remake that movie and make it into like something modern and really terrible.
It's because out of their 40 executives, one of them is half black. That's why.
Mm.
Yeah. Next call. What is this? Trying to open up a separate program to make this call? But just a totally different...
Killed the suspense.
Here we go.
Hey, Ross, Chris, this is Colin from out in D.C. Actually,
With a
on my way
thwarted
back to
call.
Ohio right now, making the way back for Christmas, and I was just listening to RBP talking about the Impact Initiative for this year. I just kind of wanted to share my experience with the podcast. I started listening because of OCC, and have been listening to RBP since episode 1. Loved it. It's been my favorite podcast ever since then. So I just want to say thank you for, everything you do. Something this year that's just really been impactful for me was one, graduating college this year and moving out to Washington, D.C. It's been really awesome to have, you guys as a companion for me in a lot of the dead time and the COVID year. But also another thing that's really helped me this year was I went through a pretty tough breakup around the same time that Ross did, and been listening with you, kind of going through everything with you, and just to hear somebody else going through a similar situation, it was huge for me. And so I just can't thank you guys enough for everything you do, for being there for all of us. It means the world to us. So I appreciate it, guys. Just keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate everything. Been watching Twitch a lot as well.
Yeah.
Big Tasty on there. So I hope you guys have a really Merry Christmas, and everybody keep listening to RVP. It'll change your life.
My man, Colin in D.C., thank you for calling. Thank you for the support. Thanks for watching on Twitch. Big Tasty on Twitch. He started listening because of OCC. That's our television and film podcast here at Bolen Media, and that I host with my good friend of 17 years now, Mr. Barrett Dudley. We talk about the best TV and film week in, week out. And a lot of people found this podcast, RBP, through OCC back when we did our Game of Thrones coverage and became one of the biggest podcasts in the world. Colin found our show through that show. Started listening back when we started the show a few years ago. This year, the year of the comeback, 2020, he graduated from college, moved to D.C., started his professional adult career life in the year of COVID, which is tough stuff, but he did it, though, and he did it, guess what, after also going through a tough breakup. I think with the breakup thing in particular, it can be so crushing to your day-to-day.
Yeah.
Right? It's such an adjustment, especially a long-term relationship.
It's a huge change.
Because often you've lost your best friend.
And you forget how to be single. Like,
Oh,
after
yeah.
you've been in a relationship for a really long time,
Totally
it
different
feels
lifestyle.
really weird being single and not having to, constantly be, checking up on somebody else all the time. And,
It can be lonely feeling
you
because
get,
of that.
You get into, especially, lull times, especially right now when you're bored. Boredom is tough after a breakup. That, after, usually in the past 2 relationships, after the relationships have ended, I've just, literally had to bury myself in, playing video games and, video editing.
And it's a weird thing, that feeling of, you have to distract yourself some,
Yeah.
but you also have to give yourself enough time to actually process what's occurred. You can't just bury it, ignore it, suppress it, never address it, right? You
Yeah.
have to dig through the emotional baggage, but
So that's usually why I watch the psychological video essays, so that my subconscious can get it out and I can just cry myself to sleep after watching those. you know?
sure.
Yeah.
You need, though, to give yourself the proper timing when it comes to the healing and the diving into the relationship and what occurred. You can't just do it all at once in the first month or week or whatever. A lot of people want it to be over, the pain to stop, move on with their lives. And that's not possible. So what you end up doing is distracting yourself, drinking, smoking, playing video games too much. Some people it's food. Whatever it is that gets your feelings to where you need them to be to feel good and okay, people utilize those things.
Well, I think
And that can be very detrimental to your mental health long term if you don't take the time to
Yeah.
actually talk to yourself and feel what is it we're going through? What is it that's happened? How are we going to move forward? What do we take from this relationship that ended? Obviously, life is not over. Feels like it is with pretty much every breakup, if you're especially an empath. It's not. All right, it's not. It's your life. That other person was another person who has decided to not walk with you. And that's cool, man. It happens. People grow in different directions. Shit changes. Oftentimes we misunderstand each other. You didn't want the same things or have the same goals, and it's all for the better long term. But in the short term, it feels devastating. Heartbreak is poison. It can eat you from the inside out if you don't treat it just like you would treat anything else, right? If you had a fucking broken leg, you wouldn't just get up every day and play Call of Duty for 10 hours, smoke weed, and go to sleep.
Well,
I promise you would. Well, maybe you would.
If you had a cast on already.
Okay, let me... You fall out of a tree and break your leg. You don't go inside, sit down, and play Call of Duty for 10 hours and hope that it's going to get better.
Fair.
You go to a doctor. You get a cast. You wear it for months, right? As you heal and your bone fuses back together. You take care of yourself. You stay off of it. You make sure you give yourself the grace that you need to heal.
Yes.
It's the same with emotional stuff. There's no cast. There's no doctor you go to. Well, obviously there is.
The love doctor.
The love doctor. Also the psychiatrist and the therapist.
Yeah. Those are the love doctors, actually.
Both
That's
of which I utilized to an extreme degree. Over the only people who got paid more money than Uber by me this year were the doctors. One of them's a doctor. I guess you don't have to be a doctor to be a therapist. But the psychiatrist is surely a doctor because she writes me drugs.
PhD? I guess that's optional.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
Anyway, it was, look, if you made progress this year, if you did what we all set out to do, you need to be proud of yourself, and you need to look back and give yourself credit for the healing and the battling and the fighting that you did this year, and that's all of us.
Yes.
You don't have to have gone through a breakup, had a drug problem, or even a mental health issue. This year was tough for all of us. Look back at it, process it in time, healthily, and give yourself the credit you deserve. We all have to do that moving out of this year.
I think for a lot of us that use 2020 to come out of the other side better and use it to get a little introspective and focus on personal growth, especially after going through something like a tough breakup at the beginning of the year.
Sure.
The motivating thing about that coming out of this year is if you can do that in 2020, bitch, you can do anything.
Anytime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
What the hell? It's kind of the thing about this year that's refreshing almost.
Exactly. It's like we
it can't get worse than this.
Nah.
Like, barring a nuclear bomb being dropped,
Yeah.
You can't really go more wrong than we did this year in America.
I was watching a Netflix release this mockumentary called Death to 2020, I think it's called, and I watched it. It's like an hour and 20 minutes.
The year isn't over, and we already have a mockumentary called Death to 2020. That tells you how this year went.
It was pretty funny. I mean, it was hilarious. It was all the way up to like late November too. Like they've been grinding on this mockumentary. But oh shit! I completely forgot where I was going. Why I brought the mockumentary. Oh! It started off with like going through the year month by month, and in January, like we literally are about to go to war with Iran. Like World War III was about to start in January.
Yeah.
And then February rolls around, and Australia's on fire. And then March rolls around, and we go on full COVID lockdown. I mean, it literally was the year from hell.
Dude, Australia had the worst first 3 month stretch of any country I've ever seen.
God.
In 2020. Not ever seen, but
that's where Tom Hanks got COVID too?
Again, in my life, that's the only thing I can measure 2020 against. The years I've seen, and nothing close has come. And I feel very confident that whatever 2021 may bring, we are all ready for that shit.
Unless the world just ceases to exist, like the rotation just stops.
Which, frankly, we don't have to do dick about that.
True.
That's just the ride is over.
Amen.
Please step off and, get some popcorn.
Yeah. Watch it happen.
Yeah.
Sit
Ready for the
back,
next call, Coles?
Relax. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's fucking do it.
Jack off on top of the Empire State Building.
You don't have to do that. That's just a suggestion from Chris.
The jacking off on top of the Empire State Building?
Again, just a suggestion from young Chris.
Well, that's from the boys.
Is it?
Yeah. That's how.
Oh, yeah, dude. I totally forgot about that guy. What's bad Superman's name? Homelander.
Homelander, yeah.
Yeah, he was touching himself on top of that building, wasn't he, Chris?
That might have been the Chrysler Building. I don't know.
That's what our next call is about. Here it is.
Okay.
Hey Ross, hey Chris. I'm responding to y'all's question about how has the podcast helped you. My name's Evan. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I have listened to probably every episode that you've put out, or at least close to it. I started listening when I was at a really rough point in my life. I was just about to graduate college. I was about to become a teacher, and I still couldn't get myself to stop drinking. And I knew it was a problem. I tried my best to stop, but as Ross, I'm sure you know, it's challenging. It's very hard. And listening to the podcast helped me begin to realize that that I needed to just reach out and actually get help, and that it's okay if you can't figure something out by yourself, because eventually it's too late. So this podcast has done a lot for me. My life is amazing. I'm about to get engaged. I have a great job. I love where I work. I'm probably going to move to Seattle soon just because it's beautiful. And life is good. I'm going home to see my dog. My family's healthy. I'm healthy. And no more panic attacks from drinking, and no more drinking in general, because don't need it. So thanks, Ross.
Dude, thank you, Evan.
That was awesome.
From Louisville.
That was so refreshing when he said life is good. That was the most refreshing life is good I've ever heard. Like, all of this year, he was just like, life is good. That was great. Thanks, Evan. Thanks for calling, man.
A lot of younger people listen to this show, right? Around your age, Chris, college, coming out of college, young adults, right? And that's because, there's a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons is that that's the time period in life where mental health issues can spring up the most. It's a transitionary period. Mm-hmm. It's the terrifying transition from childhood to adulthood. It's from college and education and school to career, job, work.
I think one of the biggest transitions that's not talked about a lot, too, is the transition from going from the opinions that have been taught to you to the opinions that are now formed by
forming your own.
Yes, exactly. Like, people don't really talk about that transition a lot.
It's the biggest transition in growth into adulthood, yeah.
I would completely agree. I mean, college, a new job, new relationships brings about that transition. But
yes. The life experience brings about those your own personal beliefs, mantras, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like Evan, thanks so much for the support, man. Getting engaged soon, that's incredible. Moving to Seattle just because you think it's beautiful out there, that's an absolute power move. I think more people, we forget that the world is so fucking big sometimes. And
I always
we get
think about
so
this.
Content in our own little bubbles.
You know what?
Like, it blows my mind. Growing up, I used to want to move back to Cornelius and live out my life there. And now, like, like, I love it there, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it's doing a disservice to myself to not experience more places than the one town that I grew up in that I got comfortable in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's bizarre to me. I was thinking about this yesterday. I have a buddy whose parents moved here from England, okay, when he was a young boy. And it was for work in their case, and they've lived here the whole time. They're now citizens. I have multiple friends, actually, from England over the course of my life whose families did this. And it was interesting to me because, man, it would take a lot to get me to move my family to another country.
Sure.
But then I was considering, like, this is, like you just said, this is a massive globe.
Huge.
A spinning giant ball of earth and water.
Yeah.
With many, 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 many different options in terms of countries, states, cities that you could live in. Too many of us wake up and go to sleep in the same place every day, never even considering that we could move. We could change our physical location. And for some of us, it is necessary. You can't just stay in the same spot physically and expect things to change in some cases. And in some cases, the physical location is the thing dragging you down the most. It could be friends. It could be environmental. It doesn't matter. If you need that change, that's up to you. Nobody's going to show up to your house and be like, how do you feel about Seattle? And then you consider it. Like, that's something that you have to come with, plan, and execute to get that life change and that physical environmental difference, right?
Absolutely. And that's something that for me, so many things felt like they were holding me back from doing that. And it took somebody like looking me dead in the eyes and saying, no, you are creating the things that are holding you back. There's actually nothing holding you back. Like, this is your life. Like, you're determining what you're putting. Like, obviously, for me, I care a lot about my family, so I want to make my family proud. And I was worried that, moving halfway across the country, that could be detrimental to my family life. In all honesty, my personal happiness and the way that I take care of myself now has created to a much healthier and happier family lifestyle. The distance has helped that. And I just realized, and I'm sure Evan probably felt the same, I reached the kind of ceiling of my growth in where I came from. In Cornelius, North Carolina, I was no longer going to be able to grow into the man that I wanted to become in that area because of the people that I was surrounded with at the time. And what I was doing at the time, I just I couldn't see myself getting much better from there, like overall as a person. I could do better things. I could make more money. I could be more monetarily
but the world
successful.
is an enormous place with bajillions of opportunities all over.
And perspectives everywhere. Like
tons of different walks of life, different. That's the thing. If you just especially for the privilege to grow up in situations with like nice houses, families, neighborhoods, etc. That is not the way most of the world operates. So like if you
No.
grow up in that and you stay in that bubble and you never learn anything else, that is a very, very, very teeny tiny percentage of life that you're actually living. And when you get to the end of the road and you look back, you only know one thing, and that's
Exactly.
no way to live. So
No.
if you need the physical change, if you need the geographical change to continue your growth and to push forward, now this isn't the case with everyone. Of course, people can live happy, fulfilling lives in one place and never move. But I would argue that's challenging for most, and that a change in location can be extremely helpful.
And I would argue too, I would say it's not necessarily challenging to be comfortable in one area, but I don't think you're
No, the comfort is what keeps most people
exactly
in one
but
area.
I don't think anybody that stays in one area their entire life, I don't think is reaching their full potential.
I mean,
think we as humans,
it's impossible to argue circumstantially
That's very
because there are
true.
people who clearly can live fulfilling and very productive lives in one area. But I think for most human beings, change is necessary in terms of physical environment to be able to continue your growth.
the more perspective, the better.
In the case of Evan, great year, dude.
And
good
good
for
for-
you. Good for you to quit drinking coming out of
Exactly,
college.
yeah.
That's a very difficult thing to do for a multitude of reasons. But for me, social activity was the main detriment to me letting go of alcohol. It was something that took me years and years and years to finally accept that this wasn't the way I was going to be able to socially operate anymore. I was much more addicted to the lifestyle that alcohol provided and is tied to than I was physically addicted to the drug of alcohol itself. Now, that is not the case for many, many alcoholics. And regardless of your circumstances, if alcohol is detrimental or any substance is detrimental, negative to your life, not serving you, as it wasn't for Evan, as it wasn't for me, it was no longer serving me. It wasn't a positive. It was a negative with the panic attacks and the weight gain, the unhappiness, the depression, the hangovers. Fucking God, I don't miss hangovers at all. Look, alcoholism ends with you dying, fam. That's the finish line. You die. That's the disease. That's what it does. It kills you. It is okay to ask for help. Most people who are addicted to something or that have a dependence on something, an unhealthy relationship with it, need help to cut it out. Alcoholics Anonymous was that help for me. There are a billion different programs and people and things you can do. But if you're trying to quit something, whether it's alcohol, cocaine, weed, bath salts, eating toenail clippings, whatever the weird or normal problem you have is, there is help out there. Do not be afraid to ask for it because you'll feel so silly when you get to the other side of it, I promise you. Evan, congratulations again. About to get engaged. I hope his girlfriend doesn't listen to this podcast. Chris, let's get our next call in here. Fifth call, 888-WR Bolen. Here she is.
Hey, Ross
He.
and Chris. It's Jackson from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania. I just listened to your recent podcast about the podcast at the end of the year. I wanted to say I've been listening to you guys for a little over a year now, and it's really kept me entertained throughout the months, and especially during this pandemic. Something that I love about the show is the Monday Mental Health Minute. I recently was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and I've been listening to those Monday Mental Health Minutes, and it's really a great way to start the week and keep me motivated and keep me on my toes. I appreciate everything you guys do. I'd love to hear some more trash or not trash in future episodes, and that's it from me. Gang, gang, gang.
Jackson from PA, thank you very much. Been listening for a little over a year. Monday Mental Health Minute has been one of his favorite features. He has major depressive disorder. Coles and I wanted a way to more consistently tie this show to its main subject, mental health, right? The Monday Mental Health Minute, which became the Monday Mental Health Message in time, since it is in fact not a minute long, has been a massive part of the shift in this show over the course of 2020, and it's been my favorite addition to have a place that Chris and I can discuss mental health meaningfully every single Monday. And I think that consistency is important to what we do here at RBP and for our brand and for our community and really for me and for Chris as well, just to be able to start every single week on Monday with some perspective that gets you in the right headspace to dominate, right? And to be happy and to do what we've been talking about this whole episode and all year long, which is to progress, to grow, to move forward, to have the momentum you need. So the Monday Mental Health Minute has really, really, really been huge for me this year too, Jackson. This was also the first year I've ever truly battled depression, which is something that Coles and Jackson, many of our listeners, are much more familiar with than I am. I often bring this up, but the first time we had Jade Bryce and Mercedes Terrell on the show, two of our guests that we've had a few times, Jade spoke to her experience with depression, her battle with depression, and it was something that I didn't have an understanding for really the first time she came on the show. And I even remember sitting there and being like, I told her, I was like, you know, I'm more familiar with panic disorder and the attacks, and I've never really experienced a bout with depression. I ended up experiencing that into 2019 and then really the first few months of 2020 for the first time in a capacity that made me go, oh, now I understand what depression really is and how it affects people as I finally experienced a little bit of it. Now, there are levels to that shit just like levels with anything else. And people who suffer from things like major depressive disorder, that's a fight every single day, right? You've got to get up every day and you've got to be willing to face it down and rock. And it's usually, for me, it's the mornings, as I've said in the past, that are the most difficult when I'm battling depression. I wake up with it. It's a cloud. It's a weight on me that impedes my progress, my productivity. And I have to shed that before I can really, truly move forward. And for me, there are a lot of different methods that we've discussed over the course of this year and over the episodes that we've released for how I do that. One of them is that I blast music for an hour and I just yell and sing and whatever the fuck I have to do, cry, get it out, right? But I learned a lot about depression this year, how to deal with it, how to handle it. And we're going to get into, when I talk about my personal year of the comeback, some of the ways I battled it. And I'm just very appreciative to everybody in my life, both past and present, who's given me perspective when it comes to depression, so that when I finally faced it down, it was something I was able to overcome for better or for worse. Like, I feel more comfortable with myself, like I know myself and my inner workings better as a result of my battle with depression. So it's something that I'm almost grateful for. But it was scary, man. That darkness is scary. And it pulls you down and it makes you feel stuck and like there's nowhere to go and you can't turn to anybody and you're alone in it all. And that's when I started tweeting, "You are not alone," with a degree of consistency. When I first started getting the depression, and that was the thing that really, that message more than anything else this year stuck out to me as the most important thing we did.
Yeah.
That was to try to spread that message that you are not alone in any experience you have.
Yeah.
There are people out there who have been through it, who are going through it, who can help you through it. You just have to find them. You just have to ask.
Absolutely.
And that's what we wanted this show to be, a place where you can find that.
And having those people around you to ground you, especially when you first start going through depressive episodes and stuff like that, is so important. Because for me, the hardest thing about when I first started struggling with depression was the lack of control. I just felt like I was in such a downward spiral that I didn't know how to stop myself.
That you can't affect it, impact it.
I can't impact it in any way, shape, or form.
That you can't change the trajectory, that it just is, right?
Because I hardly knew what I was going through at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's
you
one
don't
of
have an
those
understanding
things you don't
for it
even
even,
really
really. You're just kind of like, it's scary because you're just like,
you're like,
I
wait,
know I
something-
feel terrible.
Exactly. Something is wrong.
Yes.
Something is off. Like, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, but when I first started struggling with depression when I was 18 in my senior year of high school, like second semester senior year, literally went to the doctor 6 different times because I thought something was wrong with me. Like, I was showing all the symptoms of depression. But I thought it was like something biologically because nobody had ever talked to me about depression before. I just thought depression was big sad, you know? I'm just big sad. And I didn't feel like big sad. I was just like tired all the time.
I mean, we've all been like, for those of us who weren't born already battling depression, which is obviously a thing, we've all been big sad. We've all felt crushing sadness.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
But when you felt that and then you have depression for the first time, you kind of just think it's that.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a very similar feeling. The difference is depression doesn't have to be tied to anything actual.
Exactly.
Right? Nothing has to have occurred.
But regardless, I went to the doctor 6 separate times, getting like different, like they tested me for STDs, they tested me for different cancers, low thyroid or whatever it is. and everything came back inconclusive. Like there was nothing wrong with me biologically. And then, a year later I went to talk to a therapist and she was like, yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty typical of depression.
One of the difficult things that most people with mental health ailments go through is that it's hard to get diagnosed. It's hard to, we didn't learn it. Like when you're a little kid, you learn, I'm sneezing and coughing and have a fever, I have a cold,
yes,
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Nobody really gives you like here's how you diagnose yourself to know that you're depressed. Or like that you're anxious or panicking, having a panic attack or whatever it is. Like that's not really a thing that you grow up with a familiarity for. So you don't know.
The only thing that I had seen of depression when I was younger was like those commercials for antidepressant medicine that it was like a big black cloud just followed somebody around all day.
Television and movies have been the number one source of information for me when it comes to mental health. And it's funny, like one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite show of all time, The Sopranos, really deals with anxiety disorder, panic disorder, depression, and psychiatry, starting with episode 1, right? That was the first place I really learned about this shit.
Yeah.
Was The Sopranos, and it was one of the reasons that show ended up being so meaningful for me. But yeah, look, depression is a hard battle. It's one that I don't wish on anybody, but if you're dealing with it, you have to face it down, and you have to face it down every single morning. On Mondays, you should do it with us in the Monday Mental Health message every single week, because that's been a huge piece of the puzzle for me this year, overcoming my depression, my big sadness, and getting to work with Coles every single Monday on putting ourselves in a place mentally that's productive has been huge for me. So I hope that continues to be the case for all of you as well as we move into 2021. Here is our next call.
Hey, Ross. Hey, Chris. It's Jacob calling in from Bristol, Rhode Island. Just wanted to say that I've recently gotten back into listen to RBP. Was huge into it a couple summers ago and just kind of fell off the wagon, but recently got back into it. And I want to say, listening to all the episodes from 2020, it's kind of interesting to kind of see the whole progression of just reliving everything that happened this year through like the conversations on the show. But also going with that, I found that like all the advice and everything is super helpful to kind of like reflect and like realize what the fuck just happened and what to do next. And yeah, I just want to say thanks for spitting knowledge and keep spitting knowledge. Gang, gang, gang.
Jacob from Bristol, appreciate it. I've noticed people come and go from this show. We got a lot of voicemails from people who were like, yo, I listened back in 2018. I took some time off and I came back this year. A lot of people came back this year thinking like, yeah, this is probably a good time for some RBP, which is one of the reasons we ended up shifting. And I've heard from so many people talking about how this show has changed over the years for the better. That shift from like focusing on just comedy, you know, being silly, just it being entertaining and laughing and la. That was great. But to get to a place where the show is more important, I would say. Impactful. It has been the thing that has made me the most proud about this year is that the show has grown up with me, with you, and become something that I'm very, very proud of from a productivity standpoint, that we're actually doing something that matters. It's not just jokes.
And it continues to push me to want to grow and be better every day so that I can like bring my best to the pod, bring my best to the people of the RBP gang.
It's one of the things that's funny. People don't, like everyone always says, oh, thank you to you guys for being so open.
Yeah.
Like I guarantee you, Coles and I get as much, if not more, out of this relationship with y'all than you do. It's something that we are very thankful for as well.
And I would say it steers Ross and I's conversations in our personal lives
and motivates
towards more
us.
Exactly, towards more beneficial and things, towards more like topics that are actually bettering us as people, and that force us to think deeper and think what's it called when you not
outside the box?
No. Regardless, like when you look deeper at something, you go in depth in it. It makes us like go in depth on the topics that we really talk about and try to implement those into our own personal lives so we can live better personal lives and like try to be examples.
Yeah, the show has been a constant source of inspiration for me throughout 2020. Not just because I'm able to see how other people are struggling, battling, fighting, growing, changing, but also because it's just for me it's that baseline of like I'm not in this by myself. I am not alone. I don't have to feel so alone. There are so many nights this year where I turned to Twitter and the RBP gang and the community that we've built here because I didn't know where else to go. And I would tweet stuff or have conversations with people or go into our Discord server, which I highly recommend everybody joins. And there I was able to find and remind myself that I'm not in this by myself, that there are other people there that care about me and that want me to do well and that are supporting me and rooting for me and motivating me on a daily basis. And that was one of the things that made this year one of the most meaningful that I've ever had, if not the most meaningful in terms of personal change and development. So thank you, Jacob, for listening to the show. Thank you for coming back and listening a few years removed from where you first started and seeing how the show has changed for the better.
Welcome back.
I cannot tell you how excited I am for like 10, 20 years down the line to listen to all the episodes from 2020 because you're not kidding. It really started like in 2019. We got, I don't want to call it lucky. I would call it fate. I started talking about like perspective and money over morals and the things that drove our society. And then they all came to fruition in one calendar year where I was like, wow. It was almost like this year was custom tailored for me to attack. Like I was just like, hey, look, it's all my stuff that I like to talk about and focus on. And we got to hit all of it, from the civil rights to the pandemic to the politics. It was all there, laid out for us. Here you are. You guys are really fucked up. Take a look at it all and absorb it. That was this year, and we were able to do that with great success, I think, on this show. And look, we lost a lot of listeners because I said a lot of shit that Whitey wasn't ready to hear. But that is how it goes. Like, we're going to lose people and gain others. We're going to piss you off, and someday you might come back. I'm going to say what I believe to be right and best based on my experience. That's all we can all do. All right? And I appreciate those of you who rode through this year. I know it was controversial. I said a lot of shit that made a lot of people unhappy, upset, especially when it came to politics, the pandemic, etc. But look, man, I value and respect each and every one of your opinions. If you want to have a conversation with me, you can hit me. A lot of y'all know that. You don't have to agree with me on everything. I've said it multiple times. If you agree with me on everything, what's the point? If there's no discourse, you agree with me on everything, then something is wrong. You should not agree with. I don't even agree with everything I say. Not everything I say. So for those of y'all who had problems with things that I said this year and you're still here, I appreciate you more than anybody else. I just want you to know that. It means a lot. It takes a big man or woman to sit there and let me say whatever I want into this microphone without you being able to do a goddamn thing about it. Right?
Yeah.
Next call.
Hell of a year.
Yeah. Call number 7. Here it is.
Was that the fake beep? No, it wasn't. All right.
What?
Ross, love your shit.
Oh, yeah,
been
it was a
listening
fake
back
beep.
to the Micah days. I fell off for a little bit because mental state got back on track and kind of needed you back again. So I've been catching up. I'm on 274. You guys were talking about the Bone Thugs fucking songs, and all of a sudden it became like drag queens and shit. You need to go to a drag show. Be comfortable in your fucking sexuality and go watch these motherfucking men ladies work their shit. It's the most fun you're ever going to have in your life. Swear to God, if you listen to this call and it pops up on a later show, I'm going to catch up and I'm going to hear it. Fucking gang gang. Fucking love you, Ross. Keep doing your shit.
All right, look, it's something that Chris and I spent a lot of time talking about this year. One of the more important aspects of life.
Drag shows?
Drag shows.
Mm-hmm.
No, we really have given no attention or love to drag shows. And our caller here,
Sounds like we should be.
out of nowhere, this is like the one thing he wants to impress upon all of us. If we're going to take away anything from 2020, it's that we need to be going to drag shows to be entertained and to take our mind off things. Now, I don't know how this works in the age of COVID with the masks. Do the draggers, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
They wear the masks on stage. Is there a limited capacity situation? I don't know, but I do know this.
I like to think that because this guy's just like living in episode 274, he's like pre-COVID times.
Yeah.
Like hasn't gotten.
He doesn't even have any clue what's going on out there.
Yeah. The world is just existing in like 2000 and late 2019 when everything was still going like somewhat decently well,
Sure.
and there was nothing bad on the horizon. And
Yeah. Look, this is one of the things that I have yet to experience. I know a lot of people, particularly females that are close to me in my life, that are huge into the drag community.
Sure.
And that swear by these shows. I've seen a lot of bachelorette parties and shit go there. I don't really know what to make of that. Feels a little weird, like appropriation almost, like you're just there to make fun of or laugh at or like for one night. It's not really your community or your thing or whatever. I don't really know.
Fair.
I'm not a drag person.
Sure.
I don't know what the rules are. I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not to say.
Okay.
So I'm just going to say I'm down.
Okay.
And if dude wants to drag me to a drag show, perhaps Chris as well.
Or any recommendations of like great drag shows around here?
Holler
is
at
that
a player.
Is that like a Google thing? Can I type in like drag shows near me and like it'll give me the best ones to go to?
Look,
is there
Chris
a
and I are the
rating system?
least racist, least homophobic, most open-minded, and incredible human beings to ever walk the face of the earth.
Ever.
Everybody says this.
That's everybody says it. Yeah.
Come
So,
pick us up. We'll go to a drag show. Cole's next call here.
Or just send the
slap on your
address.
headset. This is going to be something that
You can just send the address to Ross's Tesla and it'll take us right there.
you're going to want to hear this.
So I'm only leaving the secondary because I got real excited. I'm back on 274. I've been listening to you since the Micah days, like I said in my last fucking message. I got real excited. Forgot to say, my name's Adam from Southern California.
Oh, what's up?
Go to a goddamn drag show, Ross. They're fucking dope. Those fucking man ladies just strut their shit, and you'll never have more fun in your life than you will at a goddamn drag show. I'm just saying. If you feeling down, you feeling in the dumps, those fucking ladies will get you back up and pumped. Gang, gang, keep that shit up, Russ.
I'm
Okay.
imagining Adam went to a drag show one time.
No,
and
he literally just left, and he called us twice on the way home to
Yeah,
tell us how life-changing it was.
because he went there like drunk as shit and sat down, and one of the man ladies, as he so eloquently said,
99.9% sure that they don't want to be called man ladies, but
Yeah, I
we're going to
don't
let him
think so.
continue to do his thing.
sat him down, and they had like the deepest heart-to-heart that he's ever had in his entire life, and he walked out of there a genuinely changed man.
Yeah, I can't stop imagining this dude, like, bored on a Wednesday night. He was just like, I got to find something to do. He passes, like, a billboard for a drag show, and he
Yeah.
goes alone, right? He doesn't tell any of his boys.
Yeah.
This is a secret. It's just for Adam or whatever his name
He's
was.
wearing like a fedora to keep his
Yeah, he's got
identity
sunglasses
secret.
and a large floppy hat on to try
Yeah.
to be incognito. He goes in there, he watches the show, and he leaves, and he's like, that was it. That was it.
I
I
peaked.
found my place in this world. Drag shows are the best. What do? I've got to call 888-WR Bolen, not once, but twice, and tell Chris just how much they need to make it to a goddamn drag show and see some of these man ladies that'll change their fucking lives. Love it. Love the enthusiasm. We got one more call here we're going to play for y'all today. Christopher, headphone up.
Have to go now. We don't have a choice.
No, now we absolutely have to go. You call once, it's a maybe. You call twice, we are in. Here's your next and final hotline call of the year of our Lord, 2020.
Amen.
Yo, all right, so hot takes. I'm a little high.
Okay.
I ain't gonna lie. But, this is Parker from Columbia, South Carolina.
Sup?
But, so hot take. I just finished watching Billy Madison. Veronica Vaughn, am I just high, or is she taking advantage of this man the entire movie? Like, Billy's not the brightest in the world. She's trying to get that bag. I don't even know what else to say. Talk about it. Ross, Coles, keep doing your thing. Deuces.
Yeah, so I've spent a lot of time watching Billy Madison over the course of the 33 years I've been alive. I've spent a lot of time thinking about Billy Madison, talking about Billy Madison as a film, and I have never heard the take that Veronica Vaughn, that fine piece of ace, is taking advantage of a slow Billy Madison to secure the bag. Now, I'm going to have to go back, and obviously this has a lot to do with the Monday mental health message that we discussed last week. No, I'm just kidding. Has nothing to do with anything. We just wanted to close out with some silliness. Strange take, one that I am willing to look into, not one that I'm willing to give credence to just off of your words, sir. I'm going to have to go back and see. She does beat the shit out of Billy at one point, which is important. Almost chokes him and drowns him to death in the swimming pool before they break out into song.
That sounds like something that somebody that's trying to get the bag would do. Just saying.
A lot of curious questions here. She's at the crib seducing him in his tent that's got the porn bathroom in it or whatever. Lot to take in. Was Veronica Vaughn
With
a
that
predator?
lens on it, there could be a lot of strings to pull at, Ross.
Got to go back and listen to or watch to determine for myself. But wanted to say thank you again to everybody who called 888-WR Bolen. We got lots and lots of calls from y'all that we didn't get to play today, telling us how your year of the comeback went. telling us what you took away from 2020 and especially what you get out of listening to this podcast. It means a lot. Please share this episode with your friends and family to let them know what RBP, the Ross Bolen Podcast, this community, and Bolen Media are all about. We cannot wait to see what 2021 brings and ride with all of you into it. We've got one more segment we want to do today, but first, RBP 361, brought to you by Headspace. Life can be stressful even under normal circumstances, but 2020 has challenged even the most difficult times of life. You need stress relief that goes beyond quick fixes. That's where Headspace comes in. Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app. Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research. So whatever the situation, Headspace really can help you feel better. If you're overwhelmed with work, with school, Headspace has a 3-minute SOS meditation for you. If you need some help falling asleep, if you have trouble at night winding down, Headspace has wind down sessions that their members swear by. If you're a parent, if you've got kids, Headspace even has morning meditations you can do with your kids. Great way to start the day, get you and your family all in the right headspace together to crush another 24-hour period of human life. Headspace's approach to mindfulness can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, increase your overall sense of well-being. I've been using it for, a couple months now since they became a sponsor. Incredible. They're backed by 25 published studies. They've got 600,000 5-star reviews, over 60 million downloads. Headspace makes it easy for you to build a life-changing meditation practice with mindfulness that works for you on your schedule, anytime, anywhere, which is one of the most important aspects of their product and their service. For me, I can get it whenever I need it. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Meditation, huge part of what got me through 2020. Go to headspace.com/Ross. That's headspace.com/Ross. Forget this, a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. That's the best deal offered right now. Go to headspace.com/Ross today. Next segment.
Nothing to lose there.
Nothing. Only to gain.
Only to gain.
The year of the comeback recap. So somewhere around late February, early March, I believe it was, I deemed 2020 the year of the comeback based on my personal circumstances, coming out of a several-year relationship, a marriage ending, going through a divorce, and then, of course, the events unfolding around the world, whether it was in regards to the pandemic or civil rights, the election, whatever. We needed something to get us moving forward. The company I'd worked at for 8 years as my first job out of college fell apart. The first phase of my career ended with it, and another was beginning, as it clearly was time to make Bolen Media a reality. This year was a lot up front. Coming out of 2019, I had a lot going on. Coming into this year, I was like, oh my God. And like so many we heard from today, it was overwhelming. I felt overwhelmed. I felt like I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to move, where I could turn, if I had the support I needed to get through this, or could I do it alone? Was I alone? I had all these questions that I needed answered. I basically had to rebuild my entire personal life from square one this year. I had stripped everything out. Really, seriously, everything because of COVID. Friends, family, relationships, they were all gone and rebuilt from square one. And I've never been happier. Was it fun? Fuck no. It was not fun at all. And it was the hardest shit I've ever done in my life. But I got through it, powered through the divorce with a lot of therapy, a lot of psychiatry, right? This wasn't like some shit that I just went to sleep and woke up every day and got a little bit better. Like, no, I had to battle, son. Like, it was not fun at any given point for the first several months. I was purely miserable and just trying to survive. My therapist and my psychiatrist were huge, huge, huge sources of support, guidance for me as well. And then, of course, medication-wise, my psychiatrist is who works with me to make sure that I'm on the right stuff, that I'm taking it correctly, and that my brain is where it needs to be to not only be happy and productive and to come back from all these things that I needed to come back from, but to continue to grow and move forward and be happy and win, right?
You're like Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards.
Exactly. I just unsheathed that sword and fucking let it all, bring it on. And then the army coming behind me was the psychiatrist, the therapist, the RBP gang, you, my dogs, my girlfriend, her baby, my family, like
your gaming PC.
But you got to take the sword out.
Yeah.
Before anybody can do anything else for you, which is something that I learned early on in the year. And fortunately, I was able to secure my house, which is now Bolen Media HQ, Coles' third home, where we stream, where we record sometimes when we have to, where I live and breathe and eat.
Jacked.
get jacked, doing Ross Fit,
Yeah.
secured my dogs as well, which was something that the first couple months of the year was very much up in the air. I didn't know what was going to happen with my dogs,
Yeah.
man. My dogs, for everybody who knows anything about me, like I've said, there are not a whole lot of y'all that I would pick over these dogs. Like, if I'm picking between you or them, like, not many folks are getting picked over the dogs, okay? Bruce and Bella are my family. Those little fur balls are very, very important to me. To make sure that I got to keep them and live my life with them and take care of them and love them every single day was huge. That was something that was terrifying for me for a while there. I was
remember
not going to lose these dogs, man.
When I came down for my interview weekend, you were still like in the limbo.
Oh, it sucked. You had to drive me to fucking Waco.
Yeah, but you were still in that limbo of you didn't know if you're gonna get to keep your dogs, and you were only getting to keep them every 2 weeks for every other week.
It was
whatever.
It was a weird
Yeah,
situation.
you were stressed as hell about it.
Fortunately, I only had to spend maybe a week or two total away from them. Those were very difficult times for me, but again, those were times that I was able to lean on friends, family, and the RBP gang to get through. I ended up getting to a point where I saw like the company was going to work. I was going to be able to do this for my job. It was real. And that I was going to be able to bring on Chris and hire Chris. Coles and I met, when?
Probably December of last year, November of last year.
At least a year ago, almost 2 years ago. We started playing
technically,
video
yeah.
games together on Apex Legends, all the Call of Duty games as well, obviously down the line. But we really developed a friendship over Twitch and over Discord and over gaming. And then it became apparent Chris was going to be a phenomenal option for my number 2, my first employee here at Bolen Media and my co-host on the show, that we had enough in common and enough different about us, including the 12 years between us, that it was going to be
That'll do it.
kind of a perfect fit.
Yeah.
I was able to hire you, bring you down from North Carolina. That was one of the biggest things I've ever been able to do in my life, hire another human being, employ somebody. And then for you and I to be able to start building this company together was obviously one of the more rewarding experiences of my life that I got to start this year. So from that aspect, like 2020 there was positivity sprinkled in there, baby. Big ass sprinkles. You know what I'm saying? Ross Fit became a part of weekly life for you and I. 3 times a week, usually we got in there. We had a caller today that said they lost 60 pounds. I didn't lose all mine this year, but I lost more and got into literally the best shape I've been in my life, bar none, period. And that's not like a humble brag. It's just a straight up brag. It's something that I worked for very, very hard. I've never been able to be like fitness guy who gets himself in the gym and stays motivated and stays with it. It was always this thing that I dreaded, fucking hated knowing I was going to have to work out today. Now it's something I look forward to. Like when I know Coles and I have a workout, like we do this afternoon in about an hour and 15 minutes. I'm stoked because I know you and me get to pump iron, play basketball, and then feel better after we're done and then continue to crush our lucky lives. Like from a lot of angles, my life has never been better than it is right now. And that's through the shit that I just talked about. All the shit that I had to go through this year, including the shit that all y'all went through, it's still never been better. To be able to say that means that the year of the comeback couldn't have been more successful. I met my girlfriend, who is an amazing woman, one of the most amazing humans I've ever met in my life, saved my life in a lot of ways. I love her and her little girl very, very much. And then to close things off with like the sweetest cherry on top ever, I regained my independence and my ability to manage my life individually by getting back on the road, by getting behind the wheel of a car. I spent this whole year with Chris picking me up, girlfriend picking me up, Barrett picking me up and driving me to the studio. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on ride sharing, an amount of money that would make most of you puke in your pants out of your ass. And finally got to a place where I was like, holy shit. Like we were talking about earlier, you wake up and you live with shit, right? You wake up and you look at it and you go, this is my circumstance. I accept it.
Yeah.
You're depressed. This is just the way it is.
Yeah.
I'm sad. I'm not going to even fight it. I did that for years. As I told Chris many times, I haven't been able to enjoy driving even when I was on the road because of my panic disorder, and I kept having attacks since I was 21 years old. I've been having attacks behind the wheel, mostly on the highway, mostly hungover. It's one of the main reasons I quit drinking in October of 2017. Driving has been a massive problem for me for a decade plus. Something I haven't enjoyed in many, 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 many years.
Yeah.
And something that I lost that I couldn't wait to get back. And I finally did. Got the Tesla Model 3. The thing fucking drives itself unless you're in the rain getting a homeless dick flashed at you. It couldn't handle that.
Did it show the dick on the screen?
I'm now thinking about it. And since I've got cameras all over the car, I'm pretty sure I could go look that up and like find a screen cap of dude's cock if I
So
really
to promote today's podcast, just get ready Instagram.
That'll be the photo.
Yep.
That'll
Just
be the photo.
homeless
This little
dong.
shriveled,
Hanging-
disgusting,
hanging
slightly
cock.
miscolored homeless penis.
Oh, miscolored too.
It was something growing on it. Or something was going on that wasn't right. This year, though, has been the most challenging and rewarding I've ever experienced. And Chris, being able to bring you to Austin to build this with me and live with me as a friend on a week-to-week basis has been a huge, huge part of that. And now I'm looking forward to hearing your Year of the Comeback recap.
So you're saying, in essence, this year is kind of like the homeless man. It might have a discolored dick, but at the end of the day, it's got a smile on his face.
Yes.
Amen.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's the analogy that I wanted to end 2020 with.
I'm so glad that this man could elevate your lifestyle like that this morning.
Hey,
I mean,
look,
look at that impact.
Happiest guy I've seen in a long time, that dude with his dick out. He couldn't have been. He was, and the funny thing is, it was like a
He was
Mercedes, a Tesla, and like a Range Rover at this fucking light. And then this dude who lives on the street with his dick out in his hand just laughing at me and the other doofuses in our cars. And I was just like, I don't know which one of us is right.
Hey, he was just laughing at the cogs in the machine, baby. He
Yeah.
had set himself free.
Look at these idiots.
Look at 'em.
Going to work,
Ah,
record
fuck these
pods.
guys.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he was thinking. And I
Yeah.
was like, you might be right, buddy, but one of us is wrong. Or maybe we're both a little bit right, but only one of us has his dick in his hand wagging it at traffic, and it's not me. Coles, tell us about your 2020 Year of the Comeback a little bit, if you would.
Well,
sir.
obviously, it's been a bit of a year for you, boy. I started out the year living in an apartment, and then January rolled around.
North
and I
Carolina?
moved- yeah, in North Carolina, in Lake Norman, North Carolina, working as a server. And then I moved back in with my parents for 4 months as the pandemic rolled around. So I went from, in 2017, going to college, living on my own, to
Right.
2 years later, after working a sales job that made me unbelievably depressed. Also gave me a lot of life experience, but also made me unbelievably depressed.
The yin and the yang.
The yin and the yang, exactly. And gave me a lot of growth as well. But now, again, living back with my parents, kind of had no clue where I was going in my life.
Felt like you didn't have like a direction sort of situation.
Well, I went from feeling like I did have a lot of direction, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, to realizing that what I thought I wanted to do was actually not at all what I wanted to do, and now
Right.
I was very lost in where to go next. I didn't know what the next step from me was going to be, and I felt like I was really wasting my purpose. I felt like I had a lot to offer to the world, and really no way to implement that in a way that made me feel good at the end of the day. Like I said, I worked a sales job that left me very depressed because I felt like I wasn't
it wasn't
making-
fulfilling.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, coercing people into spending more money or spending money that they don't always have for a luxury item like a boat was not something that left me
Now, let me-
morally fulfilled at the end of the day.
Let me jump in right there for 1 second because I want to be clear about this. Most of us are not fortunate enough to find jobs where we're able to
Yes.
just work in our dream scenario
Of
on
course,
a day-to-day
of
basis
course.
or whatever. If you find yourself in a position like Cole's, obviously option 1A would be to get out
Yes.
and find another thing. In the event that that's not something that's possible for you, that's totally cool. You just have to find ways to manage your life in a way that that isn't your purpose, that's your job. Then you find your purpose and your fulfillment outside of that work. So I just
Exactly.
wanted to make sure I threw that out.
And the issue was the job that I was working 65 to 75 hours a
So
week.
not a lot of time for you to do that.
Exactly, because the time that I had off, I wanted to rest because
Gotta
I
find
was
balance.
absolutely
Yeah.
exhausted. And also, in a sales job, if I get a phone call from a random number, that might be $150,000 on the other side of the phone. So you're really never off. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you're always on the clock. You're always expected to answer the phone if somebody calls. Regardless, I was in
I don't
a
answer
certain.
the phone unless my grandma or mom or dad or a girlfriend calls. At this point.
Exactly.
Or you or Mike.
Regardless,
Neither of you ever call me.
I was in a circumstance in which I really didn't know where I was going. And I still remember this conversation vividly. We were playing Apex Legends together when I was living at my apartment.
Video game.
A video game, yes. And Ross, this is as our friendship started to develop, and Ross brought up a specific situation in which he said, why does Cypher PK have 2 different YouTube channels? One in which he only posts Fortnite content, one in which he posts content from other video games. And I said, well, because I basically went into the details, because if he posts anything other than Fortnite content on his main YouTube channel, he's going to lose a lot of subscribers. Regardless, I went really in depth with why he does this. And Ross was like, oh, shit, that actually makes a lot of sense.
I was like, you have an actual understanding for content.
Yeah, exactly. We should talk more about this on the phone sometime and see where that goes. And I was like, holy shit, I would absolutely love that.
It's one of the funny things about this line of work is it's like, like with being a comedian or something. You see a comedian, you say, I want to be a comedian. But it's like, you have to have a natural gift for that. Now, I'm not saying not anybody can just stop and go become a comedian, because surely you can. If you work at it hard enough, you can achieve whatever you want or whatever the fuck. But look, man, like, I can't go become an NBA player.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking tall and fast and strong enough.
You have
all
to
right?
have
That's
a
just point blank. Some people are not funny enough to be comedians.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the content gene. You have to have a very specific way you look at stuff for content, for what I do for a living, to work. And that was the point where Chris and I discussing things through Twitch and playing video games together, that I realized he understood how content worked. And it was the first time I was like, okay, this young man might be my solution here. Because I was looking for, like, who is going to co-host this show with me permanently? I had these people that I was thankful for and reliant on to do the show with me week by week. Even producer Mike and Mariah were able to work in as co-host from here to there, but I didn't have my Coles. I needed my Coles. Found my Coles. Continue, sir.
And so that was probably about December of last year. So then February rolls around. It was actually Super Bowl Sunday that Ross and I had our first phone call interview. It went really, really well.
It was Super Bowl Sunday?
It was Super Bowl Sunday.
Did you do an interview on it?
Sorry. No. I mean, it was like that morning of Super Bowl Sunday, so it was totally fine.
Right on.
I was sitting at Jeton Park in Cornelius, North Carolina, out at a bench. I had my little journal out. I remember it very vividly, obviously. But anyway,
you have
went
your
great.
Dick out too?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Got to hang cock while I'm on the phone, keep it loose.
Smile at the people.
Yeah, exactly. I was the homeless man. That's me in 20 years. I'm from the future, Back to the Future type situation.
It's a dark situation. You saying that was you?
Yeah.
I saw you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, it went great. Then COVID rolls around. Obviously, that was a little bump in the road. Had no clue what was going next there. Ross, luckily enough, was still able to fly me down in May. The in-person interview went fantastic. Like he said,
in hindsight, that was a hysterical point. We were like, do you come down here? You were like, I don't know, man. Do I come down there? And I was like, I'm not sure. I think you might get sick and die if you get on an airplane. And you were like, we'll just try it. And I was like, tight, I'll see you when you get here.
Well, no, you got violently stoned one night and sent me a video and was like, book it, Coles, book it, book the flight.
Is that really a thing that happened?
Yeah, it's in I still have the video. I could probably pull it up right now while I'm talking.
Oh, I do not recall that even a little bit.
It was fantastic. You were like, I'll send you the card right now. Just fucking book it.
I must have had a moment of clarity where I was like, this is it.
You were like, we have to do this.
We have to roll.
But, yeah, so regardless, come down here. The interview went fantastic. Ross was able to bring me on, and I started in July. And so thus far this year, I moved to a new city halfway across the country. I started a new career. I really feel that I've gained a voice for myself and started to figure out what I truly believe in, and I've really reevaluated how I feel about the world and where I find my place in it. And when I think about the year of the comeback, I went back and I looked through my notes, and I found something that I wrote to myself on New Year's Eve of December 31st of 2019 going into 2020.
Okay. And
I wanted to read this because I think it really embodies, kind of the manifestation of how I've gotten here and kind of, how proud of myself I am for what I'm able to do and the way that I'm able to give back and the purpose that the RBP gang gives me to wake up every day and be the best that I can possibly be.
As a concept, I could not more highly recommend that each and every one of us, including myself, as this is something I've never done, do what Coles is about to share with us and write yourself something at the end of this year to look forward and then be able to look back and get more perspective when you read it a year from now. Chris, please share this with us.
So it says, to Chris in 2020 plus, 2018 and 2019 have been some of the toughest years yet. Yeah, right?
You had no idea what was coming.
No. A lot of that brought on by you, aided and exploited by the way that your brain works. That fucking sucks. A lot of this shit you probably didn't deserve, but you can only be sad for yourself and pity yourself for so long.
Aha!
2020 plus is our time. We've never been uncompromising and standing for what we want to do and what we believe in, and now is our time for that. Now is the time for you. Do not compromise on who you are towards others. It may open yourself up to heartbreak, but passion and vulnerability is a trait that more and more will appreciate with time. We must appreciate every day. Work on waking up a few minutes earlier, getting that workout in, getting your bed made first. The little things do go a long way. It's easy to talk. We're really good at that. But we can get knocked down, humbled, hit rock bottom. But can we get knocked down, humbled, hit rock bottom, and recover? We keep saying that things will get better, but it's about damn time we make them. No person is just going to appear out of nowhere and make us exactly what we want to be. That's on us, brother. But the great thing is, I do know we can do that. I do know this is our decade to change the world, our decade to make our mark, our decade to make ours. It's 5:52 a.m. I'm in a pull-out bed. I'm fucking freezing. What's the start of a new year without a little excitement? Be you, do you, work hard, expect results, and don't fucking compromise. Can't wait to see what you do, kid.
Thank you all for being a part of the Ross Bolen Podcast in 2020. Thank you all for being a part of the year of the comeback and what was by far the most transformative, productive, terrifying, and emotional year of my life. Coles and I can't wait to see what 2021 brings in the form of blessings, challenges, and changes for all of us. I hope that today's episode and Coles sharing his personal little 2019 letter to himself were as impactful for you as they were for me. I'm just stoked. Not only that we got through this, but that we got through it positively with some productivity and some growth. And that it's almost like when you have like a near-death experience and you're changed forever because you have a new perspective and you're less scared, right? You become stronger through it. That's what 2020 felt like. Like we just got the shit kicked out of us in a 12-round boxing match. But now we know next time we get in the ring, we're stronger than we were. And it can't be worse than that last fight, right? Even if it can, I realize that there are obviously things that could occur that make 2021 even worse than 2020. But come on, let's be fucking real. Like every volcano on the face of the planet would have to explode at the exact same time. And then we would have to elect a cartoonish dictator somehow to get back into, we'd have to have a whole nother election. Like things would have to go very, very sideways to get as bad as 2020. I think we're okay there. But most importantly, if we got through this and we got through it and we're still productive, what the hell do we have to fear? Bring on 2021.
Bring it on, bitch.
Bring it on, RBP gang, forever. And that will do it for today's show. But before you head out to take on the world, we have some very important announcements to close out the year. First of all, join our Discord. Anytime you see us live on Twitch, we throw it out on Patreon sometimes as well. We throw it out on social media. But if you see the Discord link, join the Discord server. Over 1,000 listeners of the Ross Bolen Podcast in their very cool community talking life, pets, weed, stonks, etc., sports, news. Very cool place. Join our Discord. You have 3 legal obligations you've been saddled with as a result of having listened to this entire podcast, the first of which is to rate and review. Then you can check that box and move on to number 2, which is to share the show with one person this week. A friend, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor. Send episode 361 of the Ross Bolen Podcast to any one individual that you think would enjoy it or might need it or would connect with it or that the message here would resonate with. That's your second legal obligation. Share the show with one person this week, one person next week, one person every week until the week you die. And please, 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 we did episode 361, not just for all of us to be able to reflect on the year as a whole, but to show other people what we're trying to do here and accomplish here and what this podcast does on a week-to-week basis. So share it with others so that they can be a part of our 2021 journey. And, of course, our final legal obligation, our third, is to share and use our sponsor codes. Our sponsors keep us in business, support us, and make sure we're able to do what Chris and I do on a week-to-week basis. So go to headspace.com/Ross today. Get your meditation routine right for 2021. Headspace.com/Ross for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every single situation. That's your third and final legal obligation. Check that box. You're done with all 3. I can call off the dogs. We don't have to see each other in court. We can all live long and prosper. We're on social media. By the way, we put out announcements when we have new episodes. This is where we update people about when Chris and I are going to be live on Twitch, etc. We also just put up generally funny and entertaining content on Instagram at the Ross Bolen Podcast, on Twitter at Ross Bolen Pod, and on Facebook.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. You can follow me, Ross Bolen, on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, all the same name, at WRBOLEN, at WR Bolen, and also Coles and I are live a few times a week on twitch.tv/BossRollin, twitch.tv/BossRollin. Come through when we stream. You're able to see both of our faces, watch us play the games, interact with chat. We play games with podcast listeners, and we have a blast on twitch.tv/BossRollin. Christopher, where can everybody follow you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at ChrisSC99. You can find me on Twitter at Q0ULS, and you can find me on Snapchat at Chris_Coulson. That's COULSON.
Check out Bolen Media's television and film podcast, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever you listen to the Ross Bolen Podcast. If you love TV and movies, you will love OCC, hosted by me and my friend Mr. Barrett Dudley. Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, available wherever you listen to RBP. And that will do it for RBP 361, our final public episode of 2020, produced by Mike Moody Garcia of Permanent Record Studios in Austin, Texas. Coles and I will be back next Monday with episode 362, RBP 362, our first of 2021. But of course,
I can't wait.
Technically, our first episode of 2021 will be on Patreon. Our very first episode for the new year on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast this Friday, ad-free with Coles and me. Start 2021 with an exclusive ad-free episode of RBP for members of the RBP gang pledging their monthly support to keep the podcast alive, showing and growing. Just minimum of $5 that you have to pledge monthly on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Come through, support the show, get more RBP every Friday. No ads, more madness. patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast. Thank you so much. So much for listening. Thank you for all the support this year. Thank you for being you. Good luck throughout for your New Year's Eve, your New Year's. Come through Friday on Patreon. We'll see you live on Twitch. Hope this year closes out flawlessly for all of you and that you get all the love and sex and presents and support and food and good weather and badass homeless junk thrown your way that you could possibly handle. You are not alone. Podmen get paid. Respect Mr. Park. Strength and honor. Gang, gang, gang. Christopher.
Peace be with you.
And also with you.